Lessons learnt from Satan and Pharaoh. There are moments in my life when I feel like I'm constantly struggling, like something is actively working against me, keeping me from stepping into the fullness of God's promises. I pray, I work hard, and I push forward, yet I feel drained, distracted, and sometimes even stuck. And then I remember, this is not new. The enemy has always worked this way. When I look at the story of Pharaoh and the Israelites, I see the same strategies that Satan uses on believers today. 1. He tries to steal my strength. Pharaoh ordered the killing of all firstborn sons among the Israelites, Exodus 1:22. This wasn't just a random act of cruelty, it was a calculated move to weaken them. By taking away their firstborns, he was destroying their future warriors, leaders, and strength. Satan does the same thing. He attacks believers in ways that drain our spiritual strength before we can grow into the warriors God intends us to be. He comes after our faith, planting doubt when we should be standing firm. He wears us down with trials, hoping we will give up before we see God's promises fulfilled. How many times have I felt so discouraged, so weary, that I barely had the strength to pray? That's not a coincidence, it's a strategy. But I am reminded of Isaiah 40:31, that my strength is in God, not in my circumstances, and when I rely on Him, the enemy cannot steal what God has given me. 2. He keeps me too busy to worship. When Moses went to Pharaoh with God's command, "Let my people go so they may worship me," Pharaoh responded by making their work even harder, Exodus 5:1-9. He gave them more tasks, more burdens, and more pressure. Why? Because he knew that if they had time to worship, they would discover their true identity. Satan does the same thing today. He doesn't always attack with obvious evil. Sometimes he just keeps me busy chasing success, scrolling through my phone, and running from one commitment to another. I find myself too exhausted to pray, too distracted to read the Word, and too occupied to spend time with God. I have to remind myself, worship isn't just something I do when I have time. It's something I must make time for. Because when I worship, I refocus. When I pray, I gain clarity. And when I spend time with God, I remember who I truly am, a child of the King, not a slave to the world's demands. 3. He wants me to toil in vain. Pharaoh forced the Israelites into labor, making them work without wages. They built for him, but they saw no reward for their labor. And that is exactly what Satan does. He tricks people into working for things that do not satisfy them, chasing after wealth, status, or recognition, only to end up empty. Even in ministry, he tempts me to work tirelessly, doing good things, but forgetting the God behind them. If I am not careful, I can become so caught up in doing that I forget to simply be in His presence. But Jesus gives me a different perspective. In Matthew 11:28, God never intended for me to labor in vain. When I work for Him, there is a purpose. When I follow His ways, there is fruit, breaking free from the Pharaoh mentality. So, I ask myself, have I unknowingly let the enemy play Pharaoh in my life? Has he stolen my strength by filling me with doubt and discouragement? Has he kept me too busy to worship, piling distractions and burdens on my time? Has he made me toil in vain, working endlessly for things that do not fulfill? If so, then I need to do what Moses did. I need to confront my Pharaoh. I need to stand firm in God's promises, reclaim my time for worship, and refuse to live under Satan's deception. Because here's the truth, I am not a slave. I am a child of God. And just as He delivered the Israelites from Pharaoh's grip, He will deliver me from anything that holds me back. Today, I choose to break free. I desire to worship. I choose to rest in God's strength. Because I was never meant to live under Pharaoh's rule, I was meant to walk in God's freedom. Be and stay blessed.